Welcome back. You're watching our continuing coverage here in Davos 2023. As we showed you this morning, the main street in Davos, where the World Economic Forum is held, it's called the Promenade. That's virtually been taken over by India. You've of course got the main India lounge. You've got a bunch of other lounges. You've got states like Maharashtra and Telangana that have set up their own lounges. And then of course you've got Indian companies, the tech companies being represented there on the Promenade as well. Well, joining us now to take us through the kind of interest that is being shown in India at this point in time is the CEO of Invest India, Deepak Bagla. Always a pleasure. Many thanks for joining us. How busy are you this Davos?
Thank you, Shereen. It's been a busy session, and I think the next 5 days are going to be very, very busy for us. You know what, I was informed, even for Davos itself, for the World Economic Forum, they've had about 2,500 registered senior corporates and delegates coming from across. So it's, for them also, it's a fairly big record. But yes, I must say the Promenade has been taken over by India. And if you put the public and the private sector both together, I think it's completely dominating the entire landscape.
So in terms of global investors, you know, who are the investors who have not yet invested in India that you're reaching out to? What is the pitch that's being made? Anything specific that investors are asking for at this time for clarity, for clarification?
So the first is, if I see the change in the narrative, it's no longer should I be investing in India. I think the questions are more how and where can I invest in India. So there's more discussion on where the location should be, where the strengths of the skill sets are available, the raw material, the infrastructure availability. So that's a big shift which shows the seriousness of the global investor now looking at putting their money into India. The second point which I'm seeing is, so we have a special session which is on creating icons and creating unicorns actually. The point of the unicorn is no longer only being looked at as the amazing startup story of India, and that, you know, has been a big story. In fact, business schools are looking at it as a case study now. But more interestingly, and this is where we were, one of the sessions they were working through on what the discussion point should be, and some of the participants mentioned that the story of unicorns and startup in India is not just about entrepreneurship. It's about the big strides which have been made in ease of doing business. It's not just that the opportunity is there. The opportunity is there. Everybody accepts. It's the ability to access that opportunity which is the more critical point now, and which is what has given a huge confidence to the global investor community that now that is possible. You know, there used to be a point where everything was possible and nothing is certain. Today, the point is that everything is possible, and there are a lot of certainties which are developing within that. And to my mind, I think that is what is giving this huge interest. And we are actually seeing movements of flows coming into capital where that is concerned.
So give me an indication of the kind of flows that you expect. What kind of FDI estimates are you working with at this point in time? Which are the sectors in specific where you believe that we are likely to see more FDI? What's looking exciting?
So Shereen, you know, for the past 8 years, each year we set in a new FDI record. And even in the lockdown last year, we received our highest ever FDI, $84 billion. Interestingly, and which is very significant, it came across from 161 countries. It's a global record. All in the past 8 years. More interestingly, it came across 62 sectors. So the breadth of the opportunity which is available in India today is now far outscaling opportunities available anywhere else. More importantly, what we've also done, we are now creating the ability to absorb capital much more. So there is a larger level of projects and larger projects in size which are now looking for capital across all these sectors. But I'll tell you the real interesting part of this story. Last year, and this entire 8-year period, it's come into 31 states and union territories of India. That is creating the opportunity. That is creating the broad basing of investments across the country. And most importantly, it's creating growth with equity. It's bringing in that sense of inclusion. And the more states you have, and the more the story of India moves bottom up, the more the confidence to the global investor that this is where they want to be. And let us look at where it is headed. We are number 5 today. you know what the entire sentiment here is today, is everybody is just talking about how they can move beyond a recession or how deep it will be. In fact, India is the only story which is the knight in the shining armor. They're looking at it to lead the way and the growth opportunities. So the discussions they're having with us is actually more on how that growth can be taken further and not just how do you want to beat a recession. How many of the other economies are there in that, and where does that come in from? The other very interesting element which I'm finding today is that a large number of senior business leaders are looking at the Indian leadership to play a very significant role in bringing solutions to global issues. And that is riding on the fact that the way this leadership led India through the pandemic. So it was not just trying to manage one of the toughest situations on the planet, so as to speak, and not just for the pandemic with other countries, but our own situation, but to continuing the reforms at that point of time, at also a time where you're creating huge reforms for people itself. I mean, 800 million people getting food and continuing to do so. And even within that, look at my Jal Jeevan mission, and I'm talking of sustainability. During that entire lockdown, you had that water tap reach close to 200 million individuals. All these stories are now coming to fore. And the other element which is giving them a lot of confidence is that each of these stories is now showing results on an outcome. Look at my Digital India story. The Prime Minister launched it in July 2015. Last year, 41% of the world's real-time transactions happened in India. In fact, it's very interesting because one of the big global majors from one of the traditional industries mentioned, the CEO, that one of the things we missed out on India was we never realized the pace at which this transformation will actually take place.
Well, Deepak Bagla, always a pleasure. Thank you very much for joining us and taking us through the conversations that you're having, the pitch that you're making to both domestic as well as foreign investors, and giving us an indication of what we should expect for 2023 in terms of FDI. Always a pleasure. Wish you all the very best.
Thank you, Shereen.